watching the U.S. presidential election. Both candidates are offering different foreign economic policies. Wits University School of Economics and Business Sciences lecturer Tinashe Chuchu joins us now to discuss this. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. So, if you look at Africa and South Africa in particular, who do you think we'd rather have as the president of the United States of America?
I think people in South Africa would probably want Hillary Clinton for a few reasons. If I have time, I can elaborate on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first obvious reason is her immigration policy. Right now, you find that if you ban Muslims, if you ban people who are doing menial jobs from your country, that isn't attractive to people who want to come to your country, to contribute to your country. So I think Africans and South Africans in specific would welcome a Clinton presidency. On top of that, there's also the Clinton Foundation that has been doing wonderful work in Africa.
Now let's look at the economics. Donald Trump's foreign policy, of course, is being questioned, especially looking at the relationship that Barack Obama has built with Africa. Do you think if he comes into power that the economic ties we've seen strengthen in the past couple of years under his leadership, will that go out the door?
I think economic ties might go out of the door because these days it's all about perception. Right now, his personal businesses are not doing so well, and I don't think that would translate nicely to his economic policies. As much as his economic policies are very conservative, when we look at the relationship that South Africa had with the US in terms of trade, I think you need an administration that will sort of open up its doors.
What about Hillary Clinton? I mean, is she going to follow the same line of policy that Barack Obama has had in place, or is it likely to change a bit? I mean, she's known for coming in with her own ideas. Yes, in the past, as Secretary of State, she might have followed suit, but now things could be different.
I think Hillary Clinton is probably going to try to follow Obama's policies because, for instance, she's not going to win without his voters. That's the same reason why I think she was made his Secretary of State, because he needed her voters to win in 2008. So I think Clinton will continue the Obama legacy, and he really needs her to continue.
All right, so let's look at how we are likely to react in terms of markets tomorrow, or probably the day after, when we find out who's going to win here. How big a knock is the rand likely to take if Donald Trump is elected winner?
I think the rand will lose a few points, and just for a few facts, you know, the Mexican peso goes down every time Trump goes up in the polls. So I think that effect can also happen in South Africa, because right now people are so nervous to invest, considering his economic policies. They are always inward facing, but when we look outward, nations don't feel that his policies would serve their interests, just like China, just like Mexico, just like Russia. I think South Africa isn't an exception. I think the rand might lose a few points.
Now, what does President Jacob Zuma do as the head of state of South Africa when it comes to something like this? Of course, the US is seen as the world leader. Depending on who is elected, he is going to have to do some brown-nosing, so to speak, or not?
I think to some extent he has to do a bit of brown-nosing, but I think when we look at South Africa, as much as the economy took a few hits earlier this year, I'm sure you know that very well, it's still fundamentally strong. So you find that if, let's say, foreign policy changes or economic policy changes in the US, South Africa wouldn't really suffer much from that.
All right, thank you very much for the insight and
analysis. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. That was a Wits University School of Economics and Business Sciences lecturer, Tinashe Chuchu.